Welcome to another episode of the Gatekeepers. On this episode, we talk about the lifespan, the life cycle of bringing a film to
Ooh.
life.
And that is one of the worst things to do because, unlike sex, there's a lot less fun involved in the beginning.
But you nut either way.
Exactly.
What's your name?
Internet darling.
Buzz cut moron. Perfect.
Because it's so much fun, Chad. Get it?
Welcome to another episode 10 of the Gatekeepers.
Damn, we're
Cam-
at 10 episodes already?
We're at 10
Damn.
episodes. Cam unfortunately can't be here, much to the chagrin, I'm sure, of the listeners. But without any further ado, joining me, as per usual, is David Lugowski, coming
What
in
up,
and out
what
of the
up?
dark.
What
Coming
up?
from out of the shadows and into the light. What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Not much. I am on the struggle bus with the lack of using my camera. I gotta stick with the FaceTime. The FaceTime camera, which is weird. I guess the webcam utility from Canon does not work with Macs with M1 chips.
Really?
Really, because I have it downloaded, and I have scoured the internet. It just seems like if you have an M1 MacBook Pro and you're using Mac OS Monterey as well, it just doesn't work.
What BS? That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that.
It is. So I have a Camlink on its way, and then next week I'll have better video quality because you look gorgeous right now. Oh my god.
Well, thanks. This is not my usual setup. I've never used this lens. I never used my Lumix. It's good old reliable. Sometimes the most reliable technology is the
Yeah.
best. You just want to
Oh
set
yeah.
it and forget it. Absolutely. Well,
Absolutely.
You brought an interesting topic to
I
the
did.
Gatekeepers podcast today.
I did.
What's that topic, David?
The process of making a film from the conception of whatever your idea is all the way down to the distribution. Now, I think the most interesting part of this is going to be where we are in the process, because I know that you're very much a DIY filmmaker, so you wear multiple hats, right?
That's right. Yes.
And so you have what? You've been a producer, you've been a director, you have been a, I'm assuming, cinematographer, right?
Yep, I've been a DP, I've been an actor, I've been a director, an editor, a photographer, a writer. I mean, not a very good actor at all. Let me make that abundantly clear. But I take all
You're no
those
DiCaprio,
roles very
right?
seriously. No, and one thing I will tell you is, speaking of DiCaprio, I would never get on a horse. Like, not me personally. I'm afraid of horses. Deathly afraid.
Horses are amazing, though. What?
I think they're majestic, but Christopher Reeve, like that would happen to me.
Oh, getting thrown off at 40 miles an hour, just boom, that's it. Well, for those who aren't aware, for me, when it comes to filmmaking, I've only ever done 3 positions. It's screenwriting, directing, and cinematography. That is it.
Ooh, the sexiest ones.
Yes, they are the sexiest ones, and they work very well together, especially if you have a very clear vision of what you want. But I would not know where to begin when it comes to like financing a movie. You know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely. Well, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do this. Okay.
So
we got to
really
start
cool
with you have an
listeners.
idea. Yeah, we do.
You start with the idea. Absolutely. Now, it all depends. Everybody has a different scope of how they want to make a movie. I'm a firm believer in the more ideas, the better. It's kind of like the way they fold Japanese steel into a samurai sword. The more that you can fold, the sharper it'll be, the longer it'll last in terms of a film's shelf life. That's what I believe. You can have a single solitary idea. Your idea could be a mailman that has a bad day. That's a fine idea. That'll work, right? But I think I come from the David Lynch school of have 80 ideas and now you have a movie, right? Like I really believe that.
Interesting.
I don't necessarily count like 76. Okay, 77. I'm not like super. I know I
You're not
speak in like
anal about it.
absolutes.
You're not going in clinical about it.
Right. It's not like up 79. This is gonna suck. It's not like that. But the idea is to have a plethora of directions and meanings and symbols, and just films is a cornucopia of ideas. So it starts with that. Now, one thing I'm gonna mention here on this pod is not everybody is the idea person. Not
No.
everybody is the photographer, the cinematographer, the editor,
Yeah.
the director, the actor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fortunate enough that I've worked with some really, really talented people, and I've gone across the Monopoly board a few times and have collected Go a few times, where I know a thing or two about a thing or two. But I'm always learning, and the game is constantly evolving. Like,
Yeah.
filmmaking is not what it was 10 years ago. It's not what it was 20 years ago. It's not what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's
exactly.
a big, beautiful thing.
I really,
but like you
I
said,
really
it
quickly,
starts with the idea.
Yeah, I really quickly want to say something though. You and I come from very different schools when it comes to creating the screenplay of a film. It sounds like even just the structure of the story. Well, yeah, I come from the Quentin Tarantino way of doing it, which is I don't start writing until I've already seen what I want in my head. I don't have
I've done that a few times.
I think that when you have a lot of ideas that you can put into a movie or into a screenplay, even at this point, because we're just talking about screenplay at this point.
Yep.
If you have all these ideas, to many people, these are what it might end up happening is one idea might start sticking out, and then you focus on that one, but then another one sticks out, and you start focusing on that, and then all of a sudden you're focusing on various different ideas, and now you have what I like to call an incoherent mess.
Sure. Now
it can happen. It's not like it's definitely going to go that way, but it can happen very easily.
Think about. We'll use Pulp Fiction as an example, right?
Okay.
It could have easily crossed the line into a incoherent mess. Imagine I'm pitching. Let's say I wrote Pulp Fiction. You've never seen it, and I tell you it's great, man. It starts off with this random couple, right? And they don't have names. They're in a coffee shop, and they hold the coffee shop at gunpoint. We smash cut into the title credits, right? And then we introduce two gangsters, and then the gangsters are there to collect a briefcase, right? And then they shoot everybody in this apartment complex, right? Okay, and that's it for the gangsters. We'll get back to them, and then we fade into to a boxer, right? And this boxer's he's being paid to take a dive with the gangster. This is the gangster boss at the gang. Already, you're like, Knives, pick an idea, right?
Not even so when I
say 80 ideas, what I mean is like, now let's break that down. We all know Pulp Fiction. Let's break that down.
Yeah,
gangsters in a suit and a tie, and a skinny tie. That's one idea, right? A boxer that has to take a dive, who kills the guy that he's boxing. That's another idea. Here's what I call an idea of form. I'm going to make this movie in the style of a sort of French New Wave novella, crime novella, where things are going to come in and out, and we're going to have multiple stories. That's a big idea. That's a big idea,
yeah. But I also think what really helped Tarantino with Pulp Fiction is that he literally told the story of Camelot. That kind of helps when you have something like that to work off of. It is the story of Camelot. That's what Pulp Fiction is. Have you ever heard this?
It is. You're talking about Butch's story.
No, the whole thing. The whole thing is Pulp Fiction.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good
not
template,
Pulp Fiction,
right?
Camelot.
Like, I understand. I've done the same thing. Right. I'm writing something right now, and the template that I'm using is The Little Mermaid. And another great example of that is the Coen brothers with "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," which is the Odyssey of Homer. Right.
It's the most accurate Odyssey adaptation ever, too.
So I understand that, but that's an idea. That's one idea. It's formalism, but it's like the form of what your thing is going to be, right? Quentin also works and reverse engineers. He's a genre-based filmmaker as well, right? So the reason why we're talking about this, and I don't want to get lost in the weeds, is screenwriting. You have to have a bomb, dope ass script. You want to talk about financing and distribution?
Yeah.
And how does this happen?
Mhm.
You know, filmmaking is, I think, in my opinion, the most elitist art form, and I think it's one of the most outside of like building cars or
Mhm.
building space equipment. I think it's one of the most expensive mediums in art that there
Yes.
is.
Yes.
Therefore, you need a lot of upfront cash flow to even make the thing,
Yeah.
right? So I think one of the ways that you do that is by having a dope ass story, that tugs on the heartstrings of financiers. Heartstrings, whether if that's nostalgia or whether if
Yeah.
that's, oh, that reminds
Mhm.
me of something I watched when I was a kid, or I've always wanted to make that movie. This guy's willing to do it and he has the vision for it. Great, I can have my, I'm producing a short film for one of my friends. I put up all the
Yeah.
money,
Mhm.
and because I didn't want to, I couldn't direct something. I wanted to pay for someone to make something. I've never done a comedy.
Mhm.
I can't do a comedy, so I'm paying for a
Yeah.
comedy. There's a lot of other people that are out there like me who are willing to put up that dough, but it starts with
Yeah.
the script and the story idea. If that's not there, people don't want anything to do with it.
And in my opinion, what that can end up doing is kind of making people really rely on the indie film market at that point.
Yes and no, because if you're starting with a genre, how mainstream of a genre, right?
Mhm.
It could be a mumblecore movie. Yeah, okay.
It
Then
could
you're
be a
going to have to bark
what?
up
A
very
what?
mumblecore. Are you familiar with mumblecore?
No.
So there are these filmmakers, Joe Swanberg, the Duplass brothers, who created essentially this genre of no budge movies that are very just walk and talky, very just three locations and characters are just talking. It's called mumblecore, and it kind of came and
Interesting.
went, but it's
Yeah.
think of Clerks. Clerks was sort of like the first mumblecore movie, where it's
Oh,
just
gotcha.
characters in one location talking,
Yeah,
right?
they're
And
just
so that's
shooting the
very
shit for a whole day. Yeah.
indie. Yeah, it's a very indie DIY movie kind of structure. That's a genre, though. There's also space genre.
Mhm.
There's also the western. There's the
Yep.
comedy. There's the horror. I
Yeah.
found horrors like probably the easiest to finance because it's so ubiquitous. Like if
Mhm.
I tell you I'm doing a Rosemary's Baby, people
Yeah.
know exactly what I'm talking about. If I tell you I'm doing a Nightmare on Elm Street, people know
Mhm.
exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So those are shorthands. It all depends on the genre. Nowadays, the most money popular genre is a superhero movie. That's a new
What?
genre now.
I never would have guessed. Color
Believe it
me
or not,
shocked.
contrary to
Man.
popular belief, yes, breaking news. You heard it here first. Um, I actually shot and directed a superhero movie, and I billed it as a superhero movie. It was called The
Really?
Seven Hands of God, a superhero movie. That's what it was
Ah.
called. And yeah, and this came out the same summer of Days of Future Past and The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was stiff competition that
Yeah.
month, I recall. And so that was what the scene that was going on at the time,
Yeah.
and I knew everybody knows the template, the beats of a
Mhm.
superhero movie. So my job was just to subvert all those beats, and it kind of wrote itself. But I was able to finance it because it was a superhero movie, an indie,
Here's
low
something.
budge, nothing superhero movie. But yeah,
Here's something funny. You brought up the beats. You brought up the beats. I have so often just ignored beats when I've been writing. Like every single thing I've ever written, I could care less
what do
about
you
what the
mean?
beats are. I ignore the beats.
What do you mean?
Like Blake
I
Snyder
I I,
Save the
I
Cat.
don't believe that.
You
No,
don't
no, no, no.
believe that?
I'm not talking about tropes. I'm not talking about tropes.
Oh, no,
I'm talking about
Blake
beats.
Snyder's Save the Cat talks about specific beats happening at
I
certain
understand. I
times.
understand. You're
And he
talking
talks
about
about tropes as
cliches
well.
and tropes.
He
Right,
talks about
right.
tropes
So,
and the beats. Yeah.
well, here's what I mean by here's what I mean by beats. Maybe we don't.
Okay.
We're not using the same.
Maybe we're not
definition
using
here.
the same language here. Yeah.
So let's say I'm writing a horror movie.
Mhm.
The beats would go as we have a female protagonist. She's our scream queen.
Mhm.
She gets lost on a drive. She has to
Mhm.
spend the night at a shady cabin. The basement of this cabin has a haunted diary. She reads the diary. This is
This is Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. This is Evil Dead. But
This
like
is
those
Evil
are
Dead, but
those
yeah.
are the beats. Those are the beats. Those are the beats.
Those
My
are-
point
you
is
see,
like
That
Those
to
are
me
beats. Those are story beats.
that doesn't feel like beats. That feels more like
Well, define it in
tropes.
your terms then.
Beats
We're
would
splitting
be,
hairs here.
we are splitting hairs here. You know what? Yeah, you know what? We'll go with that. What you're saying, yeah, story beats. I think that there are some screenwriting gurus or people like Blake Snyder
Mhm.
who write books on screenwriting, where one of the things I hated about that book in particular was that by certain pages you need to have done this thing. For example, by page 10, the main character should be
Mhm.
on their adventure. It's
So
stuff
here's
like
the
that.
reason why they say that. In Hollywood, movies
Mhm.
are products,
I
and
know.
so
I know.
they're really made through like assembly lines, and
Yeah.
so there are people there when you're being inundated with 10,000 scripts a year.
Mhm.
If you're
Yep.
not if you're not dude, if you're not hooking me by page 10, you're not gonna make the thing like that. That's the way
Yeah,
that
that's fair.
world works.
That's fair.
Yeah, and also like I get somebody asks me to read a script once a week, and it's gotten to a point now, and it's been like this for a few years where I'm like, I can't do this. I can't
Mhm.
do this because a lot of people send me first drafts, and a lot of
Mhm.
times, 95% of the time, they're terrible, and
Yes.
they're terrible because of just that. On page 10, nothing's like I don't know what this is yet. You're not gonna. The odds of them being a Shane Carruth,
Yeah.
subverting the genre and creating a brand new like the
Ninety
odds of
percent of
that.
90% of screenwriters don't write stories; they write situations. Yeah.
They also write. You know, they don't know how to write.
I'm
That's just the
joking.
truth.
Yes.
They don't
No.
know how
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
write.
That's they don't know how to captivate. Let's be real here. They don't know how to captivate because here's the thing. In the first 10 pages of Pulp Fiction, you still don't really have an idea of what Pulp Fiction is about. I'm using Pulp Fiction because it's just so much easier to talk
No.
about. We've
Yeah. Yeah.
already
Yeah.
talked about it.
I agree.
First 10 pages in, nothing's
Well,
really
let me ask you.
happening in
Let me ask you. What is in a log line? What is Pulp Fiction about?
Pulp Fiction is the story uh is about let me two eccentric hitmen. No, not eccentric. It's really the way it's broken up. Two hitmen, a boxer, a gangster's wife, and well, no, I'm just breaking down the story now. What is it? I did this in film school.
So this was a
We had
trick
to write a
question. This
log
was a
line.
trick question. This is a trick question because one thing I'm an artsy fartsy pretentious asshole. In case you haven't figured that out
I'm
yet.
the artsy fartsy one. How dare you? Don't take my job.
Well, this is why we get along, right?
Yes, that's true.
And so I don't there's to me there's a difference between plot and what the
Mm-hmm.
story is about.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I think Pixar does it the best. Pixar's like, oh, here's Toy Story. It's about toys trying to get back home. That's not what it's
Mm-hmm.
about.
No, that's not what
That's
it's
not what it's
about.
about. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the
Yeah.
plot, that's the story, but that's the same thing with Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Like that's not what it's about, right? And so
No.
I call it the emotional plot. That's the shit that captivates me. Like what,
Yeah.
like Inception. People would say, "Oh, what Inception is about is a guy who's trying to go inside his dreams and he's trying to fight his trauma." And so
No. Inception
they
about a
stage
man trying to go
heist
back, is trying to get back to his
home.
family. He's trying to get
That's
back
what
home.
Inception is
Yeah.
about, right?
That's
Exactly.
what
So
Inception is about.
that's the truth, and so that's what I'm talking about here, right? So,
I think that for me, because
yeah,
I want to answer your question because you asked about what do I mean when I say I don't really follow the beats.
yes.
So as you know, I'm working on a screenplay. I had you read the first 30 pages, and you were, I would say, mildly quite happy with them. Southern Gothic, remember?
Yes, of course.
Yes, and in the
Did I
first 10
send you?
pages,
Did I ever send you a screenplay?
no, you never did, and you need to. You
I
absolutely
have a
have to.
screenplay
Send it.
that I'll send you.
Send it.
And it's a short
Send
film,
it.
so it's like you'll get the whole thing.
Beautiful. Send it.
Yeah, I will send it.
But
let me send it right now. As a matter
please
of fact.
do. But let me
Go
just
on.
lay this out. So in the first
Yes,
30 pages that I sent you, nothing happens until literally the last moment of the 30th page. That is when, as you
Mhm.
remember, the big moment.
Do you
right?
even want to say it?
No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to say it's a big
Okay.
moment because we're going to
Yeah,
work
yeah.
on this. Knives, we're going to work on this and make it, and people will see it.
Yes, yes.
But on page 10, nothing in any capacity is pointing in the direction of what happens on page 30.
So obviously that's by design. Why
Yes, of
did you
course, yeah.
do that?
Because I think that there's something really fun to do with the classic, people just talking, trying to live their lives. The title of what I'm writing is called Southern Gothic. And one of the things about Southern Gothics when I was doing research and reading, Southern Gothics was I found that people talk a
What's
lot.
your email address?
My email address? Oh, I'm not going to, we're
Yes.
going to dox.
Text me your email address.
I will text
me
it to
your
you.
email address.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just say I don't want people randomly sending me screenplays. Hold on.
I got it.
Here's a fun fact. Did you know that if you type in iMessage, my email address is, and then hit space, it'll populate your email address to just tap? Oh, you did know that. Good.
Yeah.
Do you want my work or personal, man?
Whichever one, man. Personal.
I'll give you my personal one. We're close
Great.
enough. For
Thank
that.
you. And keep
You're
talking
welcome.
about Southern Gothic.
So one of the things about Southern Gothics always that fascinated me when I was reading them was you are sitting with these characters while they're just talking and going about their lives, and it doesn't ever seem like anything's happening. And that's by design in the nature of a Southern Gothic. Is they're very slow paced, they're very dry, and they're really trying to create this world around these characters so that when something like a big thing happens, all of a sudden it feels like, you're hit in the chest like, wait, what? And that was one of the things I really stressed about when I was trying to sit down and write this, because one of the things I kept finding myself doing was, I'm rewriting Pulp Fiction in the South. It kept feeling like that. It was really witty. It was moving very fast. By page 12, I was already getting into a totally different element of the story. And I took that time to slow down. I read some more Southern Gothics. It was a quiet and I forget what I read.
Sure.
And then I sat back down and I refocused. I want this to be slow. I want this to feel deliberate so that when people are watching it, they're sitting there going, what is happening in this movie? Like, what is the point of this film? And we get into that a little bit, and then a big thing happens. And it's kind of like one of those where it's like, oh, I, as the director and writer, am telling the audience, you need to now refocus because this is what you're here for. Not whatever you saw in the first 30 minutes. It's this.
Yeah,
and
it's very John Carpenter-esque. Did you ever see Bone Tomahawk?
Oh my God, that movie is so good. Graphic as all hell, but
man. That's kind of like the format a little bit. I remember like the first half hour, I was like, okay.
What is happening? And then all of a sudden, cannibals. And you're like, oh shit.
Yes. Well, spoilers, but yes.
So sorry, spoilers. Yes.
The people listening, they're cool enough to have seen it already. But
probably.
I know exactly what we're spending a lot of time in the writing.
Because I think that this is my philosophy. In my opinion, if you don't get the writing right, you're not going to get the movie right.
I agree with that. I'm not going to focus on the exceptions, but I agree with that.
There
I
are
think
exceptions.
It has to be dope. There are exceptions. Like if somebody hands me a haiku and they're like, this is a script, I'm going to say, okay. But if it ends up being the Tree of Life or some sort of Terrence Malick
Terrence
thing.
Malick is so good at that. My favorite story about Terrence Malick is they were shooting The New World. And if anyone hasn't seen Terrence Malick movies, people will be having...
Our listeners have.
Yeah, right. Let me refresh our listeners then. People will be giving these amazing emotional
monologues,
and then all of a sudden the movie is just focusing on like leaves on a tree, because that's how Terrence Malick sees the world. It's he and actors have gotten very upset about that, where they're acting their asses off and then he's just over there pointing the camera at like the clouds. Well, they were shooting The New World. It was raining and there was lightning, and the crew had to run over and pull him off of a boat in the middle of the water with a camera as he was shooting the rain hitting the water. That's just who
I don't
Terrence
doubt that
Malick
for a
is.
second.
That's just who
That's just
Terrence
who he
Malick
is.
is.
This is a guy that like his scripts I probably don't really matter,
No, not at all.
And often I bet they're very misleading, right? Like,
Oh,
Sean
yeah.
Penn signed up for Tree of Life, and then what he ended up watching was not at all what he
Not at
filmed,
all what he
right?
shot. Just like with what
Shot.
was that one that came
Yeah.
out in 2015? Something
Song for Song,
No, something of Cups. Night of Cups.
Night of Cups. Yeah,
That was
I
a
love that
wild one. That was like a 3-hour movie. The whole thing is ad-libbed.
Yeah,
It's-
and so that's my point. Like,
Yeah.
the
There are
script does not a
exceptions.
good film make, right? Not always.
Not always,
Um,
but you need to have a solid script to make a good film. It's really weird.
I understand, or a solid visual concept, right?
There's also that. That's why a lot of
look
screenwriters are
look at
directors.
Christopher Nolan. Like, his scripts aren't amazing.
No, they're not.
They're not amazing. They're not amazing.
No.
And I've read them. They're not
Mhm.
amazing. But
They're-
his cinematics, he threw a 737 or whatever into an airport.
Into an airport.
real.
Yeah. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
move on. So once we've
I
gotten
think we've
the
illustrated
screen-
that the idea and the page, like that really matters, right?
That really
So,
matters. I believe we've labored this enough. So we've written the screenplay. It's ready to get produced. What's the
I
first
would
step
say-
after that?
The first step after that, well, it depends. There are two ways I think to go about it.
Mhm.
Shop the script, pitch the script to financiers formally, and
Mhm.
get them to pay for the wedding. Right?
Yeah.
You relinquish a lot of control if you do that. Everybody's trying to do that. It's the stiffest competition there is. I read some
Yeah.
statistic that under 1% of movies that are made make it to a film festival. Under 1%.
Yeah.
That's not great. And those are
No.
the movies that are already made.
I think
Man, my
that
composition looks so good here. My colors.
it
are
does.
so
It
nice.
does. I think the thing
it's
for
weird.
me
This is
when
my
it comes
bedroom.
to
Sorry.
when it comes to working with producers and trying to get money, my biggest thing as a writer who also wants to direct, the hardest thing is when they want to have say in what the story is. And I've sat down with producers before where
Whoever pays for the wedding, this is a Russian saying, you'll appreciate
Uh-huh.
this. Whoever
Uh-huh.
pays for the wedding picks the music.
You see, here's my problem with that. Here's my problem with that fundamentally. I have sat down with producers and, who have wanted to fund the whole thing, but they also wanted like final cut rights, or they wanted
been
to
there.
rewrite the screenplay. And I simply ask them one question. Tell me a story. Any story. Tell me a story.
So if you are in these conflicts, then these are not the people you should be collaborating with. All right.
Oh God, no. Absolutely.
That's just the way that goes.
Yes.
So like I said, there's two ways. There's that
Mhm.
way, just
Mhm.
could be problematic for somebody. Also, I have this practical here. That's
I know.
yeah.
It looked good.
That's
What are
it.
you doing? That looks great.
No, I'm just bringing it to the attention. Sorry, I'm so obsessed with how I just threw this together. I'm in my bedroom. My sister's gonna move in with me, and so I relinquished my podcast room. Any rate, the
No, it
second
looks
way
great.
is to fund it. The second way is to fund it yourself. Fund it
Of
yourself, and to do
Of
it in a
course.
very limited way. It's not going to be what you want it to be. Now,
Mhm.
this is why your script matters. There have been hundreds, thousands of movies that had no budget that were iconic cult classics.
Yes.
Reservoir Dogs being one of them.
Yes.
Bottle Rocket being one of them.
Mhm.
Citizen Kane really being one of them. Like, that movie
Stop.
sucked that studio dry.
It really did. Oh
Slacker
my
from
God.
Richard Linklater being one of them.
Yep.
It goes on and
Wait,
on.
back up.
Boxcar
Link
Bertha.
Ladder? Wait, Link Ladder?
Richard Linklater, yeah. He did his first film was called
Wait,
Slacker.
wait. No. I thought it was Linklater.
Whatever, Linklater, whatever.
Okay. No, you're from Austin. I know he's from Austin. I didn't know if you had, regional knowledge that
I don't know.
didn't.
I'd have to hear how he pronounces his own name. But
True.
I met this guy,
But
by the
anyway.
way. I took a selfie with this guy. I met this guy. I was tripping on
Really?
mushrooms. Yes. It's one of my favorite stories ever. I mentioned it in a documentary I made. Anyways,
That's funny.
my point is, like, that movie was made on the budget of hot dogs and handshakes, right? Like, it's, but he had final cut. So there's a trade off here. I think there's also a third way, which is like a new age sort of way. If you look at producing a film as a startup company, then you're really trying to find fundraisers that believe in the mission of the movie and who aren't trying to control your narrative. They're there to get a return on investment.
Ooh, that's really interesting.
I think that's the best way to do it. That's how I want to at least try and at least maybe fail at doing it. If I tell someone invest $5,000, here is the plan. You have you present them with the deck. Here's a plan on how you'll make minimum, 20% back. That's better than what you'd get in the stock market. Yeah. That's a good return on investment, right?
It is, yeah.
And if you get 5 people to do that, you have $25,000. That's a great place to start. $25,000 is can pay for a few things. So let's just pretend that we've answered a few things. Yeah. Let's pretend that we're ready.
We
how
got
do you
the money
produce
together.
this movie?
So really quickly, from a producer standpoint, we got the money and everything. In the process of the producer doing all of that,
that's the easy part. That's the easy. Yeah. All this that we've done so far is the easy part.
This is the hard part. This comes down to when usually the director and the screenwriter, if they're not the same person, and the cinematographer all get together, and now they have to plan out what this movie is gonna fucking look like.
Well, that's the fun part. I still don't even think that's the hard part. So the hard part.
I disagree.
To me,
I think that is the hard part.
So say you're all Zack Snyder, you have it prevised, you know exactly what's going to look like. You have the lenses, you have the Panavision lenses, you have the film stock, whatever. You have all that. It's prevised. You've done screen tests with the actors and wardrobe. You know what it's going to look like, right?
Yeah.
Next is the hard part, in my humble opinion, which is scheduling and fighting Mother Nature, because you know what Quentin Tarantino said this when he was filming Inglourious Bastards. Inglourious Bastards took him something like 10 years to write, and then when it came down to film it, he filmed it in like something like 19 days or like 23 days. Like, it was a rush.
What, in a
month? It was something really insane. It might have been like 25 days, something really crazy.
That's
like Brad Pitt did all his stuff.
That's insane.
And, I think Brad did everything in like 8 days or something really fast like that, right? And so Quentin said, that it doesn't matter what took you 10 years to write, because that Wednesday when you're filming it, it's all about that Wednesday, period, right?
That is true.
And so if it's fucking raining, man, dude, it's raining. If 3 of the horses died, now you only got 2 horses. If the actors are, fucking sick, now this actor's going to have a raspy voice, and you're going to have to ADR that, right? Or whatever.
And that is, if anyone does not know, is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. So it's like that to me, the fight with Mother Nature. And here's the thing, Mother Nature always wins. Mother Nature always fucking wins. Whatever happens that day, you're overcoming odds when you're making a movie. A movie is a miracle. Miracles are not fucking easy to concoct that magic and to stage
which
that
goes
magic.
back to what you were saying before about it being a very elitist art form, because that's where all the money is. Like, this is the most expensive art form we could do.
Exactly. And the guy who spent the most money, who had the most time to do the most bougie stuff, was Stanley Kubrick, and it took him forever to make his movies. And much like the legend of David Fincher would do 50, 70 takes, and would spend, I think it Eyes Wide Shut took him like 9 months to film one scene. It's like, dude, what is wrong with you? That's
with film. Right, that's with film too. Like, he had to keep paying for reels. That's with film. It's not just
and you're paying Tom Cruise.
You're paying
in
Tom
the 90s,
Cruise
who was
and
the biggest
film
movie star of all time.
No, that's
dude. Yikes. I mean, It's insane. It's insane, you know. So, but hey, that movie's immortal. Like it's perfect, right?
It
So,
is. It is. It
um,
is.
it can't. So that to me, that's the hard part. Like the time crunch. Like if you have an
Mm,
ensemble, actors like are not gonna stop their life for you. Like
yeah.
this is a business. They're probably working on 3 features in 1 year,
Yeah.
right? So you have to work with their schedule. Same thing with your DP and everybody else involved. You have to work with the schedule. If you're an indie budge, I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the most important things that you can do is write for your locations that you have in the can. I think that's one of the most important things you can do. If you're an indie filmmaker, like maybe you don't write a scene that takes place in a space station
Yeah.
or that takes place on a meteorite or that, if you don't have that location, maybe you can't film that. So if
Yeah.
there's a reason why with 3 of my movies, there's always a sequence at my uncle's ranch because that's my uncle's ranch and I know I can get that location,
Always know you can get
So
there. Yeah.
yeah, Robert Rodriguez has that quote where when he made his first movie, El Mariachi,
Mm-hmm.
he had a turtle, a guitar, and like a gun, and that's what he made his movie about. Something like that. That's the quote.
You're right. No, I've heard this
And
quote before. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I've heard
So
that.
you have to do the best with what you have. Like my first picture, I wrote the script where 1 hour of the movie was going to take place in a bathroom. I wrote it that way. It didn't turn out that way. Maybe 10 minutes take place in the bathroom at the final cut of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I wrote the script with I mean shit at the time I wrote the script in the locations where I was, so I could know like here's the space that I have, and the cracks in the pavement here, and like the mold here, and you wrote that in the script because you were there, and I never
Mm-hmm.
even dressed the location because I just wrote for what I had, and that was very hack and
Interesting.
amateur, but that was
That is very
10 years ago.
DIY. That is very DIY right there.
Oh, it says DIY. Hot dogs and handshakes, knives, hot dogs and handshakes, Monroe. I mean, I'm telling you, man. But so let's say you filmed it. It's in
It's
the
shot.
can. You edit
It's
it.
ready.
It's shot. Great.
You see, editing is another
Distribution.
thing. Yeah,
Editing's the best part.
distribution.
That's
Editing
where
is the best
dream
part.
is
Editing
made.
editing is is only frustrating in the sense of if you have to go back and reshoot something. That's it.
Oh,
That's where the frustrations come.
schedule time for reshoots. Put that in the budget.
There we go.
Put that in the budget.
Always
you're
be
gonna
prepared.
need
You're gonna
to
need
reshoot.
it, or you're gonna need to do some pickups or something.
Yeah,
Like,
and
you're gonna need to like.
Absolutely. If you can't afford a second unit, you're gonna need to. Yeah, exactly. So
Oh yeah.
schedule that. Schedule that. I recommend that for most people, and it seems to work for Marvel Studios and these big conglomerates. Like, it seems to
Well,
work
of
for them.
course, yeah. So now distribution knives. I'm gonna be real here. In my
Yes.
experience, this is not the part I'm part of anymore. In my experience, I've written it, I've shot it, I've directed the
Yeah.
actors, I've done the
Yes.
blocking, I've sat with the editor, I've sat with an assistant as we color graded and corrected and got everything how we wanted to. And then I'm done. What's next, Knives? How do you get something like a feature film distributed in 2022?
So-
I think that's very interesting. I think that's very
so
important to note.
So for the listeners, I'm going to contextualize this answer for guys like us, because if your film's backed by a studio, you're done. You don't have to. You're done.
Oh yeah, you don't have a
there's
damn thing you need to do. Yeah, you're good.
There's a date that you're trying to make, and you have to finish and stay under budget so you can make the date. So they do that for you, right?
Yep.
But for a lot of us who have to do it ourselves, what I believe is you need to start selling the movie a year or two before it's ready to come out.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the distribution. I remember when like Jordan Peele was promoting Us. He hadn't filmed it, but it was like Lupita Nyong'o's in it, and it's gonna be this kind of movie. Ooh,
Oh yeah,
He's
Well,
already
he did
got
the same
my
thing with
ticket.
Nope, and he did something. He did the same thing with Nope. Did the same thing with Get Out.
they're selling the movie before they probably even shot a thing, and that's how you build hype. That's how you
Mhm.
put butts in seats. At the end of the day, man. And here's what nobody wants to hear in the indie filmmaking world:
Yeah.
we're here to sell tickets.
Yep.
That's what we're here to do. Sell tickets.
A wise man
So-
once said to me that if you're like what did he say? Ah, yes. We make movies to make fucking money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said it to me, Knives, by the way. It was Knives.
Well, well, you had me at a wise man. I was like, here's my quote coming up. Just kidding. Guys, I'm just kidding. But no, but that's true. Like, look, for Knives Monroe,
Mm-hmm.
I'll like, how do I say this? If I'm producing my own movie and I'm going to write and direct it,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it not making any money because the nut, the dopamine, the high, the thrill is going to be
doing it.
having the movie in the can, and I get to take my time editing it. It's going to be on the day, the space and time between action and cut. It's going to be the table read. It's going to be the film premiere. I'm always going to premiere a movie. Like that's like the nut for me.
Yep.
It's filming the behind the scenes and the making of documentary because that's what got me into movies in the first place. When I was a little kid, looking at Rick Baker, Stan Winston. I think his name's Dick Smith. I could be wrong.
Yep.
The guy that did the makeup in the
I'm
Godfather.
fairly certain it's Dick Smith.
I think it is. He passed away. He did the Godfather makeup, the Exorcist makeup. I mean, his makeup was so good it didn't look like makeup.
Yeah.
He did. Oh, Abbott and Costello. Those were the guys I was trying to remember the other day. He did Frankenstein. He did Dracula. Yeah. This guy was the GOAT. But seeing those guys, the guys like Rick Baker. Oh man, he made the Xenomorph. Oh man, he made Predator. That's why I wanted to become a filmmaker. Was I saw the behind the scenes. So those assets as well. I live for that stuff. Now, however, if I'm a producer, I want a return on investment. So with I'll use my buddy's film as an example. It's a short film. I've told him, here's our philosophy as of April 4th, 2020, when we're recording this. We never put it online. We don't put it on Vimeo. We don't put it on YouTube. We don't stream it on Twitch. Maybe we do a critic screening via Zoom or via, Riverside, something like this for critics to get some buzz, stuff like that. But by and large, we want to only show this film in person, selling tickets. Therefore, there's the FOMO effect of you haven't seen that movie where the only time to see it is during these 3 dates a year. It makes the movie new again forever, and it'll make its money back in time. My first movie sold 400 tickets, and we made our money back. It must have cost. I've said the budget of hot dogs and handshakes. I think we probably went in like $1,500. That's the truth. It was not a lot of money. Like
not a lot of money.
People spend that on a lens
for a movie
nowadays.
Yeah,
not a lot. I mean, that's pathetic, right? People spend more in groceries, I think, in like 2 or 3 months, right? So
yeah, probably actually, yeah.
So that's why I said hot dogs and handshakes. But we made our money back at the gate at the box office. We split that money 50-50, and it was like the week before we were premiering this movie, and 10 years ago, 2012, I had told my writing partner, I told him, maybe we just give it away for free. And he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, well, maybe we sell tickets for $2. I just wanted people to watch it. I didn't care about the money. Yeah. And I still don't care about the money. I'm not even like that guy that's like, I don't care about the money. I care about what the money buys. No, I don't care about that.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
When other people are putting money in the business and in the film, they deserve their money back.
It matters.
They deserve
that money.
First
immediately
and foremost
matters. The second you have one investor,
and also,
it's important.
Absolutely. And you want it to make a profit, and it'd be really cool if it makes 10 times what you put into it. Guess what? You got your next film produced.
Yeah.
That's the nature of this business. It's a traveling circus.
Did you watch Tick Tick Boom?
I didn't get to see it, no.
Okay.
I don't love Lin-Manuel Miranda.
That's fine. I don't love Lin-Manuel Miranda either, but there's a really important thing in that.
I'm going to turn on my fan. Continue.
Do what you got to do. There's a really important part of the movie where, the main character, not the main character. How do I put this? Someone says someone says to the protagonist when he doesn't get his way, they say you got to make the next one. That's how this works.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Like, for example, we do Southern Gothic, right? It doesn't do well, right? Great.
Yeah. That's why you try to make it as cheap as possible.
I know.
Because you don't want to bankrupt yourself. You want to be able to take the L if you have to.
Yes. If you have to take
It's the way
L,
that goes.
you want to be able
Yeah,
to.
if you have to take the L. But also, I don't believe. I mean, me personally,
Mm-hmm.
you ask somebody else, you get a different answer. But me personally, I can make money back on a movie. You know, people have to remember that it's in perpetuity. You know, I'll
Yeah.
put it to you this way. Here's the example I like to give people. If Disney's all about the money. Disney makes billions, I'm sure, on their streaming service, right?
Yeah.
But let's just say that Disney decided, for a cultural effect, this is the only way that this makes sense. And when you're using Disney as an example, if
Yeah.
they decided Infinity War and Endgame will never get a physical disc. It'll never come out on Blu-ray. It'll never be a home release. It'll
Mhm.
never be streamed on Disney Plus, but it will be released for 3 weeks at a time, once every 4 years. Best believe that movie's going to be making. It's going to have the number one box office of all time, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, in like the 70s and 80s, movies would just like Titanic was at the theater for like a year and a half. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Right,
why
it
it
just
made
was
$2
there.
billion. And now, like Batman, which just came out, it's going to be on HBO this month.
Is it
Because
really?
it's going to make
Wait,
money.
already?
Yes, in April.
It just
It's
came
going to
out.
make money. I
That's
know.
insane.
That's like, dude, that's how these new things are. That's how they are. The Blu-ray of Spider-Man just came out like a month ago. Dude, that thing came out in December. 3 months later, holy shit balls on a cock. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
That's
So
insane.
my point is, like, if you, but think about the billions they could have made just in ticket sales, where the only
yeah.
way to see it, dude, I'd see Infinity War again if the only
I would
time
see
I could see it was at the theater.
See, not even that. I would see Infinity War again in theaters over Endgame again.
You know, people would go to the double feature because they're sick in the
Oh,
head.
absolutely.
And they
yeah,
would,
yeah. They would absolutely go
So,
and sit
but
for
here,
6 hours.
the reason why they don't do that, the reason why they don't is because they can make more money on the OTT platforms, and so I
Yes.
get that they can make more
Yeah.
money with digital sales, with Apple sales,
Yep.
with Blu-rays, etc.,
Mhm.
box sets, with merch. That's why they do it, and it makes sense for them. But Southern Gothic, for example,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, how many screenings and this is a math problem. This is just math. How many
Yeah.
screenings to make your money back? How many tickets at $10 a pop to make your money back?
Oh,
So let's do
$10
the
a
math.
pop? Okay.
Dude, that's cheap. That's
Yeah,
cheap. That's a
that's
matinee
cheap.
ticket nowadays.
No, I'm just saying. $10 a pop. Okay, cool.
So let's just do some math. $25,000 divided by 10. 2,500 tickets. So let's say your average theater is 300, right?
300
Divided by
seats, yeah.
300. So you'd have to sell out 8.333. This isn't autofocus. You'd have to sell out 8 theaters of
8
300
theaters.
seats. So this is where you start cashing in all your connections, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm a Texas guy, so I have connections in Hidalgo County, which is a whole like 12 cities there. San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston, Corpus Christi. Those are like my big territories right there. That's 6 screenings. I could sell 300 seats in each one of those cities. I know I can. And also, it's never been easier because also you got to factor in an ad budget, which is where in the $25,000, say $2,000 goes to ads.
Yeah.
Right. You factor in Facebook ads where you have tons of digital assets of behind the scenes. So it's like, great, that's promotional material. You have trailers, great. You have posters. We can ask fan made posters. We can have critic screenings where, we get 25 blue check marks on Twitter to watch the movie, and we wine and dine them and make them have a good time when they watch it. And we tell them, hey, wait till July 15th because I want you guys to all, like an embargo, a self-imposed embargo. I want you all to drop the promotional material on July 15th. Everybody sees it. What's this indie movie that people are talking about? Well, my 6 territories in Texas, I got covered, right? There's your connections in Philly. There's, wherever, whatever. There's also big cities where people will watch anything in Chicago. People will watch anything in Los Angeles.
New York and Los.
It's not expensive to rent
Los
an
Angeles
AMC theater.
Thing, yeah. Is it really not?
I mean, a couple $100. It's not crazy.
Is it really only a couple
commission.
$100? That's insane. Wow.
Let's Google it.
Let's
certain.
Google this one. Yeah. I'm curious.
Pardon me while I look this up.
Out. Let's see. Theater. Oh, it's the first thing that pops up. Host a private theatrical rental. Go away.
I'm seeing $100.
That's what I'm seeing too. I'm seeing $100. It is $100. Starting at $100, you can rent out an AMC movie theater for
Starting
a
at
private party.
$100. So, bro, I mean, exactly. So, and then the word of mouth goes from there, man. So I think, and so if I got 6 territories and it takes 300 seats to, dude, that's the business. Like,
Yeah.
And also if you bomb, you got to be able to
bomb.
take the L. Hey, making your money back, like, and that's the first year, dude. If you don't release the movie digitally on YouTube, excuse me, then next year you could do it again, and the year after that, because not every. One thing I learned was when I screened my first film, the amount of people that told me, "Oh, I wish I could have made it. I'm sorry. Will you show it again?" The amount of people, I could have filled another theater. My second feature film, I did 2 screenings in one night, and there were people that showed up to each. I didn't have a sellout, but if you put it together, the aggregate, it was the equivalent of one sellout.
It was the equivalent
right?
of one full theater.
Exactly. So
dope.
it was just trying to, and that was 8 years ago, man. So now there's even digital screenings. So now you can charge people via Venmo, you can charge people via Twitch, you can charge people via Patreon. Like, it's never been easier to make your money back, right? But the lower that you can do, I'm gonna make a feature this year. This is the first time I'm saying it publicly, and
nice.
It's in honor of my first movie. It's a spiritual sister reincarnation film of my first movie. It's not a remake. It's not a reboot. It's a reincarnation, and it's to really honor the past of where I've come from and where I am today, and also it's a spiritual successor of my first film, and I want to shoot it in 10 days. I want to film it really cheaply. I know what I'm going to pay the actors. That's where most of the money is going, and I know that I can make that money back. Will I make it back in one weekend? Nah, I don't think so. Maybe I could do that, but I'll probably make it back in 6 months.
Now
but most importantly, I'll have a film that I own that my family can make money off of when I die.
That's really like the thing that matters. Now, before we wrap this up, I wanted to ask you this question.
I'm sorry, I ranted there for a fucking minute. I apologize.
No, dude, you're good. I love it. I love this. This is I love this energy here. What do you think about Moonlight? Moonlight was funded entirely through oh my god, what was not
marvelous
Kickstarter.
Picture.
Well, not Kickstarter.
GoFundMe or something.
GoFundMe or something.
Seed and Spark, GoFundMe.
It's like $1 million budget made entirely through online just marketing, Kickstarter campaign, GoFundMe. Moonlight is a fantastic movie. What do you think about the methodology
that
of
model?
Getting that money?
That model.
Yeah, that model. Yeah.
What people don't understand is the only way to do that. Dude, it's not going to be your concept that makes that happen.
Of course not.
You're in the 1%. You need to have a built-in following. Period.
Yep.
You need to have a built-in following, and you need names. If I say
Mahershala Ali was a big name.
Oh fuck yeah! And this was I think he won his first Academy Award with that.
He won his first Academy Award for that, and wasn't it also Rosario Dawson?
No. It was another lady. She was in Pirates of the Caribbean, but let's name.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
She's fucking excellent. She's still the show, but apologize. I'm gonna look her up.
Let's go to Moonlight.
Naomi Harris.
Oh, Naomi Harris.
But,
yeah.
She was fucking traumatically just transcendent in that movie for sure.
Yes.
But so if I wanted to say, hey, Brendan Fraser's going to be in my movie. He's attached. Ellen Page. I'm just coming up with names. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. These people are committed to the movie.
Elliot Page.
Pardon me. I'm so sorry.
We don't want the cancel hammer. Don't want the cancel hammer hitting
I'm the last person to want to dead name anybody, so I apologize for that. But
yeah.
Yes. So if I say, oh, these names are attached, all we need is $2 million, and here's where it's gonna go, and here's what you get if you get it. Then now I have a shot, especially if I had a built-in audience, right? If I said like who's a guy who's like an indie, Chloe Zhao or someone who's just like
Chloe Zhao,
still kind of an indie, someone that's kind of an indie darling still, but like but people know of.
Love when you use those two words together like that. Love it.
They are what they are. They are what they are. But now all of a sudden you can make the GoFundMe happen, right?
Yeah.
Or I'll put it to you this way, short and simple. If you're a YouTuber that that has 50,000 subscribers, or if you're a TikToker that has 20,000 followers, these are your patrons. Like, will they give you $1? You know, so that is only doable if you have attention.
Yes.
You need attention. The GoFundMe isn't the calling card of attention. It's not the calling card for success.
Great. I'm glad we agree on that. I didn't want to just sit here and just rant and rave myself about GoFundMe and Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I wanted you to do it because your rants are just so much more enjoyable than mine. I end up calling someone a fucking asshole in the end.
Well, I think we're both the fucking assholes. That's why we're filmmakers.
It happens, yeah.
Well, this was very enjoyable, man. And one thing, last thing I'll say is, here are my 2 cents, and then I'll let you close the show. Stack up W's, stack up dubs when it comes to making a film.
Yeah.
Finishing your first draft of a screenplay is a dub. Finishing your last draft of the screenplay is a dub. Casting your actors is a dub. Location scouting is a dub. Finding wardrobe is a dub. Your first table read is a dub. Your first day, if everybody has a marvelous time on your first day, drama free, everybody's excited, exuberant, enthusiastic on your first day, that's a dub. The day you say that's a wrap, that's a dub.
Even bigger.
The day
dub.
you have your first assembly cut of your editing and your picture, it's a 3-hour cut, whatever, that's a dub. The day you have your picture lock, that's a dub. The day you drop a trailer. You see what I'm saying? Like, stack up. Yep. You get the point. So I could have gone on forever, but like the last dub.
When you get that first ticket sale and that first ass in a seat, that's 2 dubs.
When you are when you're in the audience and your movie is working, I heard that Toby and Andrew went to like a public screening. They were wearing their masks, right? And because they wanted, fuck the Hollywood crowd, they wanted to see what the fans thought of the picture, right? And they blew their minds and like, what did that mean to those actors when they saw that happen? That's the last big dopamine dub there, right? But then there's the shelf life of the movie, the cultural phenomenon, the stuff that happens when people say, dude, were you the guy that did Southern Gothic? I love that, but I really love the thing that you did before that, which was blah blah blah. When you get that, when you're in that world, the afterlife of the movie is the ongoing dub, and people don't really take that into consideration, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I could not have said that better myself. I love this. Oh man, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
I love
Knives.
you.
I love you too, brother. I really do. All right, Knives, where can they find you?
At Knives Monroe on all the things, at Indie Darlings on all the things. David, where can they find you?
They can find me at the David Lagowski on all the things, except for Twitter, because Twitter doesn't allow me to have the I at the end of my name. So
everybody, find the David Lagowski on Twitter without the extra I and spam this motherfucker and tell him to relinquish his username and to give it to the real David Lagowski, because
that's not what it is. That's not even what it is. What it is that the David Lagowski is just too damn long, and I can only have a certain amount
what
of
do you
characters.
think of? Oh, that's right.
That's what it is. Right. That's the only problem here. And you can find me here on YouTube at just David Lagowski. Guys, this was an awesome episode. It was great. Knives, we are going to have such a wonderful experience working together. I cannot wait to read your short, and I cannot wait for you to read the final draft of Southern Gothic so we can get this shit going.
Neither can
everyone have a wonderful week. We will see you next week. Deuces, everyone.